Hello and welcome everybody to this 16th episode of the Backwards K Baseball Podcast. My name is Chris Asbrock, and as always, I am your host, and I am joined each and every week by my esteemed colleague. We're going to go back to that positivity going into the second half of the season. But my esteemed colleague and co-host Scott Kaiser. Scott, my man, how are you doing, buddy?
Positivity off the field, because there sure as hell ain't no positivity on the field for my team. That's for
Yeah, I was just gonna.
damn.
I was being nice on that one, but
What a rough week off. Good God, I thought the All-Star break was to recharge and get healthy, but not so much.
no, it's been pretty rough for you, but yeah, we have a pretty low key episode this week. Not much, basically, with we're dealing with the first series completed after the All-Star game last week. So yeah, pretty low key. Really, other than that, it's been outside of the All-Star game. It was kind of a low key week. We had the draft, home run derby, the Young Stars game, and then we had one series that started Thursday or Friday, depending on what team you were. Other than that, that was it. So let's get into it now. All-Star game. We saw the American League once again knock off the National League 5-3. I know. Yeah, blame Hunter Green. Blame Hunter Green. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, overall, again, it's the All-Star game is one of the premier events. I mean, it's in terms of All-Star games, it's the most genuine game that you're going to see in terms of All-Star games as well. But it's always going to be fun. I love seeing the guys, the All-Stars take on the All-Stars. It's usually good quality baseball for the most part. And that's what we saw really in the first inning with Paul Skeens, my boy, starting for the National League. And we got those nice matchups right off the start. But overall, Scott, in terms of the All-Star game, again, we see that, like I said, the American League once again win. What were your thoughts, just kind of what we witnessed on Tuesday night?
Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I used to be much more into the All-Star game and the pageantry of it all, but as you get older, work kind of gets in the way, and my work schedule doesn't allow me to partake in much of the All-Star game these days, because by about the time everything gets underway, it's bedtime for me. But I always check everything out for the intros and kind of the stuff that I do get to see. And you're right, it's cool to see the stars of the game come together. And this year, little different flair, because you had a lot of guys, a lot of the typical household names kind of out injured, and a lot of replacement players, guys coming in there that got their first chance. And that's always fun to see, because I was listening to MLB radio in between the All-Star game and the break, and there's not much going on. And I had an interview with somebody. I didn't catch who it was, but they're talking about their first time, and he's basically saying, yeah, the first time was fun. It's cool. It's great to be a part of. That's one of those things you want to do as a kid and check that box and everything. But because there's so many things now surrounding the game, it's not just like the game anymore. And it used to be kind of like optional. Like you didn't necessarily have all of both teams at the home run derby and all this stuff. Like now all of these events and everything that goes on surrounding the weekend, all of the players are required to be there, required to make an appearance, show their face, be part of the event. And so I can imagine how taxing it would be. And whoever it was saying they were glad that they got the extra day off this year, but they would be much happier to going forward in their career to just have the time off and break, because between everything that they had to do for the game itself and everything surrounding the game on the outside, it's a lot of work, and they didn't get to spend much time relaxing and seeing their family. So cool event for the fans, cool for us to get to see all the, but I can only imagine how much of a pain in the ass it must be to have to engage and do all of that stuff that isn't, you don't even have to do like for a regular game. So Yeah, I sympathize with those guys.
I was gonna say for us
To take a
common
break.
folk, yeah, for us common folk, it's like going on vacation and coming back and be like, it's not even worth it. You
Right?
don't even
Yeah, yeah. I need a
you get
vacation
the
from my vacation.
exactly. Yeah, that's so true. But I mean, again, like I said, it's something. As you get older, you kind of start to not distance yourself from it, but it's
But
not as
the novelty just kind of wears off.
yeah,
I mean,
it
there's
does.
certain
Yeah,
things you turn. I find myself tuning in to see like individual players more so now than to like see the entire game start to
yeah.
finish. Really like hardcore rooting for the National League. Like in my heart of hearts, I still want the National League to always win. But it's just like I said, it's cool to see certain things. Like it was cool to see Otani hit a home run for the National League,
And holy
and right,
shit,
and have that moment where he blows it up, and like you said, Skeens starting off the game there and being able to play against and pitch against some of the top stars in the American League, and just having that display, like moments like that are cool. And then
yeah,
the in between stuff, it's kind of like, oh yeah, all right, then the game happened. Like cool for Jaron Duran, who won the game MVP.
yeah,
He's had a really good story there for outfielder for Boston, and he had struggled with some mental health things early on in his career, and being able to get on the field and stay on the field and having confidence in himself, even though he was a highly drafted player. Took him a while to just be able to get over his anxiety and own personal demons to be able to play, and now playing at an all-star level. So that was really cool to see him get all-star game MVP for his contributions in the game. I also saw where I guess prior to the all-star game, MLB had sent him a nasty gram because I guess in an interview, I think it must have been a televised interview, he was wearing a t-shirt that had like "fuck you" written on it or something like that. And I guess that's something he has like on his tape written or something, like, so you could see in his
yes.
interview after game, like he had it like covered up, like, but you can see the F still.
I
So
love it. I love it.
that's really cool. One of his little motivating tactics for himself, like he had to oblige for MLB and making sure that it was PC for the casual audience. But good stuff overall. Just the game itself, like nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing too memorable, but
No.
like I said, like there's those moments, and those are more important to me now than the actual outcome of the game. Like other than remembering that the National League just cannot seem to beat the American League with any sort of consistency over the last 25 years. It's just been
I don't understand it.
been
It's
insane.
unbelievable. It's
And
unbelievable.
the players change, and like now the universal DH is there, so you can't even use the whole, well, they're not used to, so that it like I cannot for the life of me figure out why the National League struggles in this game year after year after year.
I mean, it is literally they go and get their teeth kicked in each and every. It's unbelievable. Like I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Well, and I gotta start. I gotta learn. I do it every time too. Like Otani hit that home run to put them up 3-0, and I'm thinking, all right, here we go. They're gonna win this one. And then sure enough, they blew the lead, and I'm like, the National League has led a bunch of different times in these games that they've lost, and always managed to find a way to lose. So
Yeah.
there's nothing that you can point to and say, oh, they need to fix this, because the roster rotates and changes each year. So even the managers and coaches change each year. So you can't fire the managers and coaches. Like, I don't know. It's kind of just a weird oddity, I guess, that the American League has just dominated the results of the game over the last 25 years. Irks me, but it's almost becoming hilarious at this point.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable each and every year. But I will say this, and I tweeted it out as well, like right after it happened. The sound of that Otani home run, the explosion off of the bat was unbelievable. I mean, absolutely incredible. I mean, he hit that, and I was like, Jesus Christ! I mean, that thing, literally it exploded off the bat. I mean, it's just something you don't get in a normal game, but when you're watching, the true stars. I mean, Otani is, like they say, he's a unicorn. He's he's ridiculous. And it's, stuff like that. I mean, damn, it just reminds you how good these guys really are. But thoughts on home run derby? What do you? I mean,
Yeah, I mean they changed the format. I
I don't
gotta
know. I
say,
mean,
yeah, I mean it's fine. I understand that they try to each year kind of mix things up, change up the format, spice it up a little bit. I'm of the mind that you just go back to the old school way of like, look, everybody gets 10 outs. We don't, you get some sort of timeout in there. But you get the 10 outs, and there's no, you just, most home runs each round, the people move on. Like you just keep
yeah,
eliminating guys until there's two left and then one wins. Like I don't need the different kind of bracket breakdowns. I just want the person who hits the most home runs to win the home run derby.
simple's
Like
better.
right, yeah, like and so
Yeah,
if you simplify it to where you just throw everybody in the same pool, and like I said, you just keep eliminating everybody. You start with 8 guys and you just keep eliminating 2 each way, but it's accumulating. So it's like I don't want guys to get penalized for hitting a bunch in the first round and then slowing down because they tire out or whatever. Like I'm here to see it's called a home run derby. So let it be that
yeah.
whoever hits the most home runs in the home run derby, regardless of round, wins the home run derby. Like if you advance all the way through, if you hit a bunch in the first and you only come up with a couple in the finals, that shouldn't cost you. Like just simplify it. Most home runs wins, period. End of story. So
I'm right there with you. Yeah, I
like
mean,
again, it doesn't
yeah,
like the way that they've messed around with it and played with the format doesn't bother me necessarily. It's just it almost seems kind of okay because I always have to kind of check in and see like, all right, so what are the rules? Like, what have we changed? What because it doesn't seem to be the same anymore from year to year. So
yeah, and it's true. I mean, but I will say this: it was kind of, to see Teoscar win, it was really surprising. I mean, I've always
yeah,
been a fan of
I
Teoscar.
wouldn't have picked him from the pool of participants when we were talking about it a couple weeks ago.
I know. I was like, what the hell just
When
happened?
they finalized that pool, he wouldn't have been one of my top picks for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one. Threw me off.
Rexamillion
Yeah,
saying that they should do the home run derby old school, but also add points to it, like having specific targets in the stands. If they hit, it goes directly to charity. Yeah, I mean, I'd be cool with them having like a
yeah,
little target. There being some targets that you could hit that like enhance or like. I didn't mind too. Like if you're talking about the most home run hits, or you want to have a little kind of thing. The bonus ball, like I'm
the money.
always
Yeah, the money ball.
yeah, I'm always
Yes.
about bringing back the money ball and having some sort of like bonus that could help you close the gap or give you extra points or whatever it may be. However, they're tabulating things.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But just as far as like breaking it down with the guys and bracketing it off, and then okay, this guy plays this guy, and trying to figure out who's moving on and how they're going to count for each round, but then changes in the final round. Like it's gotten too convoluted. I feel like so.
And it's dragged on a lot longer than what it used to as well. And it's
Yeah, yeah,
really,
it's one of those events you want to kind of just get in and get out of. Like,
yeah.
like the longer it goes on, the more you lose interest in it. Honestly,
No, it's true because I mean, I want to say midway through, I mean, I flipped it over. I was watching something. I forget what. I mean, I flipped it over and yeah. I mean, me and the kids were hell. We might have been playing PlayStation or something. Hell, I don't remember, but it was like, I mean, I was like, I'll flip it right back on and I'll catch the end of it, and then that's when I caught. I want to say the last. Obviously, I caught the final round, obviously with Bobby Witt and Teoscar, but then I want to say maybe the last at bat before that. I mean, I was just like, but that whole middle section I missed. I mean, I didn't watch Alonso. I'm trying to think who else I missed. I missed pretty much everybody, but Witt in the first round. I did see Teoscar again. Gee, I'm trying to remember, but yeah, there was. I mean, it was. It is what it is. I mean, but like I said, simple was better, man, on that one. And that sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah.
But that's just how MLB is, though. Major League Baseball, they can't help themselves.
Well, I will say that that's not necessarily just a baseball problem. All the big four sports have messed with and tweaked their all-star game weeks, games, all the stuff in order to like try to get more people to tune in, and it's all gone away from like the just the actual game. Like nobody actually seems to care about the game itself anymore because it's all about the stuff surrounding it, which is it's fine. But again, on some of these things, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like the slam
Yeah.
dunk contest just needs to be the slam dunk contest. The home run derby just needs to be the home run derby. Like eh, over complicating the basics makes something, like I said, that goes from kind of mildly interesting watching guys just sitting there hitting home runs off soft toss to, all right, this feels like a chore because it's just going on forever and I don't care who wins at this point. Like,
Yeah.
because it's too confusing about, like, wait a minute, he hit more home runs, but he doesn't move on because, wait, what? Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Like, just again, start to finish, whoever hits the most home runs should win the whole thing, period.
Completely agree. Yep. I can't argue that one, my man. Can't argue that one at all. So in terms of the first half, first half of the season, what did you like? What did you dislike? From what we saw, from the unofficial halfway point now, because
Yeah,
we're already well past it. But yeah, this is.
I would say that the most memorable thing from the first half, and we've kind of beat it to death, but it continues to be true. We'll talk about it here in a minute. Is, dear God, this season has been brutal for injuries on big name players. Like I across the sport, I hate it. The Braves have suffered an inordinate amount of injuries to their star players, but it's not just me being a homer and whining about that. Like, Mookie Betts is out, been out for a while. We've lost guys for the season, top to bottom. Like it seems like it's constant. Like every time you turn on, or every new week that flips, somebody is getting hurt and they're going out for a while, and then guys are coming back and getting hurt again, and it's just been frustrating this season to watch so many star players get hurt. And I know the numbers will say that it's not, there's no more injuries this year than there are any other year, but I guess because of who the injuries have been to, and it just taking away, it sucks for the game when the stars are out, plain and simple. When you don't have the highest level talent, playing baseball on any given day or any given week for an extended amount of time, the game suffers, and so I don't like it. So as far as I guess that's the bad from the first half of the season, and then the good on the other side of that is the young guys. I think that the baseball continues to do a great job of pumping in youth and getting these kids that we're hearing about getting drafted. We'll talk about the draft here in a little bit and briefly give our thoughts on what went down on that. But yeah, just I enjoy the fact that we no longer have to wait 3 to 4 years for guys to get through the minors and make an impact and play in the bigs and get their shot. Some of them are less ready than others, but I still think it's exciting when kids get the call up, even if they're not necessarily ready. Like, we saw with Holiday. He might not have been ready and he gets sent back down by Baltimore, but it doesn't change the excitement about the rest of his career. And you still had that excitement for those moments when when he gets called back up, there'll still be like a sort of aura and excitement surrounding like what he can be and what we expect him to be. But I think the game's in a really good place with young guys, and some of the youngest players in the game are stars now. You mentioned Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson. These guys are top level guys at their position, and that's very good for the game to have the brightest stars be some of the youngest players. So yeah, injuries are big thumbs down for me for all the stars, but the nice part of the other side of the coin is that the youngest players in the game are becoming some of the brightest stars. So the future looks pretty good overall. What about you? What are your thoughts on the first half and good and bad?
The legit exact same thing you had. I mean, you said that when I was like, damn it. I mean, but it is. In all fairness, like real quick to touch on the injuries, because I know, we'll talk about them more here in a little bit, but injuries have robbed us of what could be a phenomenal season. And that's just, we talked about it before, one of the first shows in, that we did this, that, this is just one of those years where injuries are going to be the name of the game. And you have seasons like that, and you have seasons where, guys stay healthy and it's unbelievable. Unfortunately, this is one of the down years where we see it, and it's, like I said, it's robbing us of a lot of really, really good baseball. But like you said, on the flip side of that, we've got all the young stars that are coming in, and it's, as a baseball fan, I mean, I'm not kidding. We literally every single week we talk about how great this game is with the young talent, coming through the pipeline. It's, for example, here in Cincinnati, Reese Hines just gets called up right before the All-Star break, and he goes on an absolute tear. And, I mean, is he a top prospect? I mean, no, but is he a good, a good baseball player? Yeah, and he was a good prospect coming up. I mean, he's lived up to that hype. But it's just, it's one of those things to where, you sit back and you see another name and another name and another name of just guys that continue to get pumped up through, through the system. And these teams, like we said, that's the best part about it, is they are not afraid to pull the trigger and bringing these guys up. Like you said, especially with Jackson Holiday, like you said, it's not going to derail his career. No. And I look at Jack Leiter early on in the year, definitely not going to derail him, because that it was beautiful, right? To start off, but then kind of went off the rails. But again, that's what happens with young players, and not everyone's going to be a Paul Skeens. Not everyone's going to be, a Gunnar Henderson or an Adley Rutschman or anything like that, or even Bobby Witt. Those guys like that. It's just great to see where this game is right now. And, you sprinkle them in with the solid veterans, such as the Mookie Betts, the Bryce Harpers, the Shoheis, guys like that. It's, the mixing of the talent from top to bottom is what makes this game so great. And again, for as much as as we've been robbed from the injuries, we're still getting, we're getting to pump back up with, with the young talent, flying through the system. So,
well, and I want to give Rex some flowers here for a minute, because I know he's a Guardians fan and tunes in all the time, and we appreciate that. But the Guardians have been, I think, probably the most impressive team to me.
Yes.
For the season on the whole. And you talk about younger guys coming in and some of these more household names, but I swear to God, every week the Guardians have another guy that came out of nowhere that you're just like, wait a minute, who's this guy? And he's producing. They had Fry, who made the All-Star team.
Yeah.
Who again, seemingly came out of nowhere, playing all over the field. This kid Martinez that they just brought up, Angel Martinez, just before the All-Star game, he was hitting, and he looks pretty nice. Like they have just found offense, and I know the joke has been the last couple of years that if they've been just starving for offense and would take it from anywhere. Well, they found a way this year to get offense from the strangest places, and they keep just churning these guys out. And it's almost like a turn and burn thing, because it's like as soon as you're like, okay, well, Fry's kind of fizzled out, like, oh, they're going to slow down on offense. Well, then here comes somebody else, and they plug them in, and they're doing the same kind of role, and I like it, because it's the guys aren't limited to one position. Fry is playing catcher, first base, right field. He's playing all over the diamond. Same with Martinez. He's a shortstop by nature, but they haven't played in the outfield. So they're turning these guys into everyday players who might otherwise platoon or only be able to play in one spot, and they're getting results. And they're running away with the Central quietly, because again, they don't have household names, and I know Ramirez is doing his thing, and him being that guiding force there in Cleveland helps a lot. But they're the most impressive team to me throughout the first half of baseball, just because of what they've been able to do with the names on the back of the jerseys.
1,000%. And then they added to it in the draft, which I'll touch on the draft here later on the show. But adding Travis Bazzana, who is, I mean, probably the best baseball player, all-around player. You add him to that roster, I mean, holy shit. I mean, he's going to watch this. I mean, if you get a chance, I mean, if you haven't seen Travis Bazzana play, just watch his highlights when he was at Oregon State. This dude can flat rake. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you are going to see him in the lineup for Cleveland later on this season. I mean, it's just, he's that good. And, just a beautiful swing left hand, from the left-hand side. I mean, it's just adding another piece to an already dangerous lineup, which, again, you and I don't want to say we wrote him off, but, preseason wise, we didn't pick them to win it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
But
I had picked Detroit, and again, the reason to go against Cleveland is just because of their offense. I mean, they
yeah,
didn't think they had enough offense to do it, and I mean, some you might wonder again. You look at the names and the roster, and even me being an avid baseball fan as I am, like I will look at that roster and be like, wait, who's this? Who's that? Oh, they brought up another guy. Oh,
yeah.
this is just going to be a flash in the pan. Oh, he's still doing it 3 weeks later, and they've been doing it all year. And so, I respect that kind of baseball. I respect the fact that they're finding ways to get it done, and they put themselves in a position now where, because they've got these pieces that they can move around all over the field, they've got players that they can move to get bigger names for the stretch run and improve their chances of winning, because they have those big name players. And just thinking about the fact that they lost their ace in Bieber to start the season. Well, he's another one of those names that 2-3 starts in, boom, elbow blew out, done for the year. So you lose your ace, and you're still able to do this. Like, I think that's a real testament to what Cleveland's done this year, and off to them. I hope that it continues for them through down the stretch, and that things don't fall apart, because everything's so tight in their division that it wouldn't take much for them to trip up and find themselves outside. But I hope that they're able to keep it going for the rest.
And one person I continue, I don't want to say sleep on, but like I expect him to hit the wall, and Stephen Kwan. Like there's something about him. I'm like,
well, he's another one who, while he was on fire, gets hurt and was down for a month and a half.
Yeah,
and I thought, well, that's probably going to cool him off, and he picked right back up where he left off.
It's like I want to say, like, maybe I always looked at him like he was overrated. Maybe that's not the best way to put it, but like I just never. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, because he's obviously a great baseball player. Like, I'm not denying that, but it's like, when he came on,
the numbers just weren't flashy.
Yeah, but it's like it's productive as hell each and every game, and it's like, man, there's no way this guy can continue to do it, and he does, and it's like, dude. I mean, he's shoving it right up my hoop with it. And more power to him on that, because
he reminds me of more of a guy that we saw like during the 90s. Like the way he hits reminds me of like he reminds me of like an Omar Vizquel. Like, where you're just like, oh, you don't expect big power, but timely hits, putting the ball in play, batting well over 300, and playing solid defense. Now, obviously, they play different defensive positions.
Yeah.
But just in terms of their impact with the bat and their ability to play defense at a high level, but like, they're not necessarily ones that scare you when you're looking at the lineup card. And then at the end of the series, you're like, how the hell did that guy beat us? And how the hell does he keep beating us every series? Like, what the hell is going on? But yeah, I love watching Stephen Kwan play.
I do too.
And I don't honestly, truth be told, I don't do it enough. Like, I don't.
I'll admit I don't. Yeah, I don't.
I don't get to see that often, and I should make it a point to tune into more of their games, because I really enjoy the way they play ball. So
I mean, maybe that's it's death by 1,000 paper cuts is what that is. Like that's how it's like when you're playing Cleveland. That's how it is.
Yeah,
and maybe yeah.
Well, the other stat that they strike out the least amount of anybody in baseball. That's another stat I love. Like, they're the hardest team in baseball to strike out. So
they just freaking hit, man. And again, that's on me as a baseball fan. I don't watch them. Like, I just don't. There's other games I'm going to watch, and that's on me. And I take full blame because I sound like a dumbass when I'm sitting here talking about, Stephen Kwan, I think he's overrated. I never, I shouldn't say he's overrated, but like,
right.
That's just how it's always kind of in my mind. But
he doesn't come to mind as a superstar, or a fearful player. You're just like, oh yeah, Stephen Kwan, he's a nice little player. Like,
but it's like freaking top to bottom, that lineup. They just, dude, damn, each and every game
they come at you.
Yeah, they do. And there's, like I said, death from 1,000 paper cuts is what it is, because it's a nightmare.
And Rex also pointing out, I keep forgetting that they've done this all with the managerial change. Out with Tito, and they're still able to keep churning things out. Like, good job by Stephen Vogt to be able to keep that ship afloat. And first year manager, first time manager, like, good for him, man.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, sometimes you just got to tip your cap, and that's damn, and they deserve it because they've been nothing short of fantastic so far this year, and mad props to them. And as baseball fans, you should probably be, I should pay a little more attention to them. So that's going to be my
second half homework.
Yes, I'm like, damn it, I might watch a game or two of the Cleveland Guardians.
Yes. Well, I'm just gonna pay more attention to what they're doing on a day-to-day basis because, like, I see it, but again, I don't really absorb it. It's just like we were sitting there, a month and a half into the season, and looking. It's like, wait a minute, Cleveland has the best record in baseball. When the hell did that happen? Like, I know they're winning games, but I missed the part where they had the most wins. So they just go about their business. It's quiet. There's nothing flashy about it, and then they're just there.
I remember the one. It was one of our first episodes. We were kind of going through, our pre-show. We're just talking, right? We talked about that. We're like, what the hell is happening here in the Central? Cleveland's got 2 losses. They're 21-2. It seemed like, and it's just like, man, what the hell's happening? And that's
Well, you kind of touched on it there, but do you want to give your thoughts on the draft? That's more of your baby.
Yeah.
Obviously, I saw where some of the bigger names landed, but I don't have as many deep thoughts as I know you do. So you want to talk about some of your favorite draft landing spots and what your thought was on where some of these guys ended up?
Yeah, I'll talk. Pretty much, we'll go first round here. There was a couple of picks I highlighted in the second round as well, but. Again, Cleveland, first 1-1 with Travis Pizzana, second baseman out of Oregon State. Again, this dude is, he's phenomenal. And again, Rex, I tell you what, man, you're going to be happy when he comes up as as a part of your club, because this dude's he's fun as hell to watch. Much deserved. That was a pick where they kind of went under slot to where they could have used the bonus money to apply it, in other areas, down, in the draft as well. But the Reds, second overall, take Chase Burns, right-handed pitcher out of Wake Forest. Not gonna lie, I wasn't a fan of the pick. I was tickled shitless because I thought Jack Caglione was going to be a Red, or Charlie Condon. Reds have been craving the right-handed power bat, and Condon was right there. And what did they do? They passed up and went to the power arm of Chase Burns. Now, again, Chase Burns is one hell of a pitcher. This is not a bad pick. I just like other ones better. But Chase Burns, a lot of comparisons to Paul Skeens. He's good. He's a power righty. Touches every bit 100. He's got a pretty solid pitch arsenal as well. Again, their dreams are to have them with, you're going to match him up with his teammate Rhett Lauder, and and Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo and Andrew Rabbit. Those guys, that's their mentality on it. If Lauder and Burns pan out, then you've got yourself one hell of a starting 5. If not, then it's going to be second guessing from here on out. Burns is not going to be the ace of your staff, at least in my opinion. I think he's a good solid 2 or 3. That's why I would have gone elsewhere on that one. They've got, the Reds do have plenty of pitching in the, in the minors. Hopefully, those guys will pan out as well. But the pick, I really do like one of them. Charlie Condon, the Golden Spikes Award winner, goes to Colorado. This dude's going to hit balls, all the way to Wyoming. Charlie Condon can absolutely mash anyway, and you put him out in Coors Field, my God, this dude's going to rake. And this was a great pick, a phenomenal pickup by Colorado. It was a no-doubter. In the mock draft I did with the college guys, I had him going with Hagen Smith. Hagen Smith ended up going 5th. So there was a couple surprises, in the first round. Nick Kurtz, the first baseman out of Wake Forest, went 4th overall to Oakland. With Jack Caglione sitting there, that's one that I, kind of stunned by. Hagen Smith, I get going to Chicago. It's a left-handed pitcher. He struck out 17 to one of his first starts of the year against Oregon State early on, and 3 times he struck out Travis Pisana. So Hagen Smith, the lefty, like I said, out of Arkansas, phenomenal pitcher. He's going to do really good things with Chicago. The pick I liked the most probably was Jack Caglione going to Kansas City at 6. This was an absolute no-doubter. This dude's going to be – he's a two-way player. Apparently, Kansas City is going to let him stick with that. To me, you can go either or. Jackie Cags he can mash as well. He was the Sunday starter for him for Florida. He tired out towards the end of the season, so his velocity numbers did drop. But again, overall, this is a great pickup by Kansas City, and Cags is going to be one you're going to see coming up throughout the I'd say definitely as early as this year you could see Cags in the bigs. At number 7, J.J. Weatherholt, the shortstop out of West Virginia, going to St. Louis. This is a typical St. Louis Cardinals pick. Weatherholt might be the best. He's got probably the best pure swing in the draft. Kids, he can hit. He can hit. The question is in terms of where they're going to play him. Second base, shortstop, who knows? But this is a good pickup, and I think he's going to with St. Louis, guys like that are going to succeed. And I think that's what you're going to see from Weatherholt. And then it kind of wrapped up with Christian Moore, the second baseman from Tennessee, going 8th overall. So the first 8 picks in the draft were all from college. So, it just shows, again, we've talked about it before on the show, that these college players, they're more and more developed now and more ready to get into the big leagues. And that's what, teams are starting to agree. Connor Griffin was a shortstop from Jackson Prep out of Mississippi. He went to Pittsburgh at 9. Seaver King was a shortstop out of Wake Forest, went to Washington at number 10. I was kind of surprised by this one. This seemed like a reach to me. The one pick I really I really turned my head was Braden Montgomery, outfielder from Texas A&M, broke his ankle in the regionals. Nasty injury. In all fairness, I think it did cost Texas A&M a national championship because, they went to the national championship, the College World Series finals, but lost in 3 games. He's going to Boston. That's a great pickup at number 12. Probably there's two picks that I really like after that. Actually, no, just kidding, 3. Trey Savage is a right-handed pitcher out of East Carolina, went to Toronto at number 20. I was kind of debating because the Mets picked just before them, and they got Carson Benj out of Oklahoma State. Toronto could have gone either way, and I would have been thrilled. Trey Savage is an absolute steal. This kid is huge. He pumps it in there. He's nasty. He's going to really help out the Toronto Blue Jays moving forward, and I think this is a move. And we'll talk about the Blue Jays coming up here, especially in terms of the trade deadline coming up. But, word's coming out that they're not be doing a full rebuild, but, they're going to push to win in 25. Guys like Trey Savage are going to help you out. He's going to be a phenomenal pickup for Toronto at number 20. And then just 2 picks later, the Baltimore Orioles, the rich get richer. Vance Honeycutt, outfielder of North Carolina. This kid's a freak. He's an absolute stud, probably the best defender in the country. He's disgusting. And, now you add him to that Baltimore organization where they just seemingly just crap out phenomenal players. This is another one. And you're going to see him make some noise in the big leagues as well. If they can get his hit tool, if they can sharpen that up a little bit, then they're going to really take off with him. Or I'll rephrase that. He's going to really take off with them. It's probably the best way to put it. Vance Honeycutt, I absolutely love. And the one pick, Scott, I told you, man, as soon as they made the pick, Cam Anitti, a left-handed pitcher from Saguaro High School out of Arizona, going to your Atlanta Braves at number 24. Dude, you're going to like this kid. He's a good one. Man, you should be excited.
I mean, I'm always excited when I read the post-draft, reports on the guys that we get, but I'm more excited when you get excited about the picks for me. So that's how I know we got a good one, or at least somebody that I should be, looking out for. So I'm excited that he hopefully moves up through the system pretty quickly, because the way things are going right now for the Braves as far as injuries go and on the pitching front, gonna need his help sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, and he's I want to say he's only 17, I think. So I mean, he's still a few years away.
Yeah,
but he's going to move through, and he's going to be a really solid addition for you guys. He's the cousin of Ken Caminiti, the phenomenal, stud
third baseman.
Yes, for the Padres.
He actually finished. One of his last teams was the Braves. I can't remember if he signed somewhere else after he left, but he played one of his final years in Atlanta.
Yeah.
During our rebuilding years at the end of his career and the end of our dynasty, the first part. So
yeah, I mean, it's to have that that little family connection. There you go. But yeah, he's going to be really good for you. Just a couple other picks here real quick to wrap it up.
Oh, go for it.
Blake Burke, first baseman from Tennessee, is going to the Brewers at 34. This dude can hit, and you just add him into that Brewers organization. Good on them. It's again, that's another rich get richer type situation. Colorado with a good pick at 38. Now, obviously, we know, you can't sign pitchers to come to Colorado, so you got to draft them. And they did one in this case with Brody Brecht. He's a right-handed pitcher out of Iowa. A lot of hype coming in for him. I did see coming into the season, talk of him being 1-1. He did not have the season that everyone expected with Iowa. This kid's good, and it's going to be a nice solid addition for Colorado if he can pan out. Then they've got themselves a good one.
But do you think, real quick, before you go any further on that, do you think that kids are sitting there like, yeah, you're about to live your lifetime dream out and you're waiting for your name to get called? Do you think any pitchers are actively sitting there like, fuck, like, just anywhere but Colorado, man? Like,
son of a bitch.
Just don't call my name.
Yes, I mean,
yay, I got drafted by Colorado. Man, I really hope I get traded at the deadline, like, soon.
Yeah, it's like, oh, damn.
This is where my career goes to die.
I know, exactly. But teams like that, like I said, you have to I was trying to see if they had made another pick. I didn't highlight it. Maybe I missed it in the second round, but yeah. And that's why, in my mock draft I did, I said Hagen Smith was another pitcher they should have taken. I mean, obviously I didn't expect Charlie Condon to be there, but again, you've got to draft guys to bring there, and that's what they did. They brought in some guys. It's just a matter of them, panning out, as they make it to the big leagues. But that's a good one. Caleb Lomavita, a catcher from UC Berkeley. He's going to help out the Nationals. He's a solid pick. He was 39th overall. Tommy Tanks going to the A's, third baseman, LSU. He was the first pick in the second round. That's a great, that is a great pickup. For the A's, because Tommy Tanks, this dude can hit. As the A's move to Vegas, it'll be it's a nice piece to to build around. Chris Cortez, flamethrower from A&M, going to the Angels. Angels obviously need pitching. They get it there.
Angels obviously need everybody.
Well, I was trying to be nice, but yes, they need they need a lot of help. One pick I was intrigued by as well was the Mets getting Jonathan Santucci, a pitcher, left-handed pitcher out of Duke. Santucci was, early on this season, looked really, really good. He continuously, he gets the job done. He was their Friday night starter, each and every week. You know what you're going to get from him, and he's going to the Mets. So that's a good pickup for them. Rex, you're going to like Jacob Cozart, catcher out of North Carolina State. He's another one that's going to help out. He had a solid season with NC State, the Wolfpack, as they were pushing for another trip to Omaha. Cozart's he's good, and it's another great pick by them after building off of the first pick overall with Pizzana. Now you add Jacob Cozart to to that roster as well. Billy Amick to the Twins at 60, third baseman from Tennessee. That's another depth piece for them. Dylan Dreiling, this is another outfielder from Tennessee as well. Goes to the Rangers at 65. This is another, another Carter Langford type situation. I think he's going to really help them out in the outfield. Is he going to be up there early? Probably not, but it's another great piece for for the Rangers to take. And I do see a couple of the comments. I'll get on that here real quick. With the last one, the one pick I really, really like, and it was, a note back to our last episode and Jonathan Maurer, his client, Luke Coleman, taken 71st overall by the Cincinnati Reds, right-handed pitcher from LSU. This is a pick I really like. A solid Friday night starter for LSU. Not a flamethrower like Paul Skeens, but the guy knows how to pitch. And that's going to really help out, the Reds, in terms of however they decide to use him, whether he's a lower starter for him or if they choose to use him out of the pen. Phenomenal pick by the Reds organization by getting Luke Coleman from LSU. So, Scott, you want to touch on those comments there? We'll get into it.
Well, Mike chiming in reference to me saying that Colorado or pitchers were dreading getting drafted by Colorado. He says he would take the different approach, that if he was a pitcher drafted by Colorado, he would be all about it because of the low expectations, baby, which is that's a good point too. I mean,
that is true.
Again, you are you're so thrilled to be drafted. And I'm sure that there's some sort of mentality for most of these guys too, are like, well, I'm going to be the first person that succeeds, or I'm going to be the reason why, they don't worry about pitching in Colorado anymore. Ego aside, but I'm sure that there's a little tiny part of them that has heard enough of the horror story that is Colorado and the way that pitching just goes there. Even drafted pitchers go there and just have their careers fall apart. And I wonder about just sitting there oh man, just God, there's 30.
Then you look at
don't let them be one of them. Although I guess the thing would be here's the question: would you rather get drafted by the A's or the Rockies?
Colorado, just because I like Colorado a hell of a lot more.
Well, I mean,
both organizations are a shit show. So
I was just gonna say, I would rather go to the one that currently has a home. That isn't going to be playing at a college or minor league baseball stadium next year.
And Coors Field's gorgeous, so
yeah. I might give a bunch of dingers there, but it's a really nice park to do it at.
Hey, it's going to be pretty as you turn around and watch them fly out of the ballpark. I mean, hey, it's
Mike also saying that the kids of the players he watched growing up getting drafted messed him up. Mike and I are the same age, and that's been messing me up for years now. Every time I see junior of guys that it's not even guys, because Vladimir Guerrero, with his son coming up, and you're just okay, that Guerrero was I was still kind of a kid. I can still consider myself a kid. And yeah, it's the ones where you're no, I was a high schooler, going into college, who's the players that I was watching then have kids that are now entering the league or getting drafted or whatever it may be, or coming up, Jacob Wilson.
Yes.
Son of Jack Wilson just got called up by the A's. Jack Wilson, longtime Pittsburgh Pirate, had himself a nice little career. His son, amazing hitter, gets called up by the A's, and in the two-sided coin of what I said, kid gets called up to the majors, first at bat, hits a single, and as he's rounding third to score his first ever major league run, he tweaks his hammy and gets forced to the 10-day IL. Classic fucking baseball on the way. 2024 has taken no prisoners, whether it's your first at bat, first career game as a rookie, or you're an established superstar. 2024 gives no fucks, and it's taking names and hammies and elbows and everything with it.
Well, then you can add Whit Merrifield to that today. What the hell?
Yeah. Oh well. I guess we should. Let's talk about the Braves. Let's fucking talk about the Braves. Because
I didn't want to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, perfect transition to going from Whit Merrifield, who the Braves signed today. Why did they sign Whit Merrifield? Because they lost Ozzie Albies yesterday for 8 weeks to a broken wrist. Because it wasn't enough to have Ronald Acuna on the shelf for the year. Go on ahead and lose Ozzy Albies. It wasn't enough for Spencer Strider to blow out his elbow for the year. Go on ahead and lose Max Fried. Wait, what? Back up. Lose Max Fried. You just said Ozzy Albies. Oh no, that's right. Before the game yesterday, and what should have been Max's first start after the All-Star game, we find out that he's got left elbow neuritis. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is either, but it doesn't sound good when you're talking about elbows and pitchers and hurting. And my favorite part is Max said that he felt something while warming up for the All-Star game. The All-Star game that he was announced as an alternate to. He went there as an alternate, felt something while he was warming up, still pitched in the game, and then got back to Atlanta and said, hey guys, I don't feel right. Oh, this fucking year, man, has just been brutal. And so then to circle things back around to Whit Merrifield, the Braves signed Whit Merrifield this afternoon off the street. Just get a body in there, play second base, probably going to look at a lot of at-bats because, Ozzy's out. They called up Nacho Alvarez, the prospect, the shortstop prospect, the desperation, try to get him some at-bats. He's been tearing up AAA. Whit Merrifield, pregame, fielding grounders, takes one off his middle finger. They think he might have broke it. He had to have x-rays. Now, he didn't break it, but playing for the Atlanta Braves in 2024 has been anything but a good proposition. Like, it has just been a nightmare. Add into the fact that Matt Olson still has, as many home runs through this part of the season that he had by, like, the end of April last year. And, it's just been, and somehow they're still, 8 games above 500 and all this. They're still fighting for playoff spots, but it has been a damn week since the All-Star break. And the hits just keep on coming for Atlanta with the injuries. Like, if Alex Anthopoulos figures it pulls another Houdini, move and manages to secure, because leading up to the trade deadline before yesterday, I would have said, probably need an outfielder. Michael Harris is about to come back, but he's another big time name that's been injured for the last 2 months. Probably get an outfielder, stabilize things out there. But now Max goes down. There's no timetable for how long he's going to be out. Best case scenario, though, I'm assuming he's going to be out for a couple of months. So you're looking at like mid to late August. Not a couple of months. I'd put him in September, but at least a month. Like, best case scenario, he's probably gone for like a month. So late August, hopefully back in enough time to get ready for the playoffs if he's not done for the year, but just brutal. So Alex Anthopoulos has his work cut out for him over the next week before this trade deadline. And I have no idea where he's going to go. Not that I do on it, even if the Braves were fully healthy, because he always manages to do something that nobody saw coming. But this is going to be, he's going to earn his paycheck over the next week. Trade
deadline. Is he ever?
Because I know that the Braves aren't going to sell, but they also don't have a whole lot of pieces to exchange for upgrades. So it's going to be real interesting to see where we're at. And, in Max's case too, this is a contract year for him. So I'm not sure why he would voluntarily, not tell anybody that he was having arm issues while warming up for the All-Star game and still pitch in the game and risk both his future, long-term and short-term. So good times, baby. Good times. Add on to the fact that the Reds are playing the Braves right now, and the Braves are taking in the ass. Good shit, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel for him. I really do. Because it sucks, dude. Like, when your team's just getting, their shit kicked in each and every week with injuries, man, it sucks. And it's literally like each and every
after another.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the Whit Merrifield. I saw that today. I was busted a laugh. And I was like, you can't make that up.
That's what I texted my buddy. I said, you can't make this up. A guy signs off the street and nearly breaks his finger during warm-ups. Doesn't even get in the first game and is day to day with a foam finger.
It's crazy
times, man.
Well, I do want to address Rex had a question. How long do you think it'll take for most of these draft picks to get called up? I think for the position players, you could see them as early as, September. I think that's a realistic expectation for some of these guys, like Condon for Bazana as well. Some of these guys, I legit think that's a realistic expectation. If not next year, because usually depending on how much wear and tear these guys have, throughout the college season, and again they're not used to the full 162, so these guys still need to get acclimated to a lot of that. A lot easier for the position players compared to obviously the pitchers. So, depending on the pitchers with the innings limits and everything like that, you might see one or two of them come up, maybe. Don't count on it. I would expect that's going to be something you'll see maybe as early as next year. But position players, like I said, I would not be shocked September. That's a realistic thought for a couple of them, especially a couple of the big name guys, like I said I had mentioned previously. But yeah, Rex, I saw that and I figured I'd address that. But yeah, especially for, like I said, for you guys with Cleveland and Travis Bazzana, man, he's one you're going to expect here pretty soon, and you'll be excited. So enjoy. But other than that, looking ahead to the second half, is there anything, because we got the trade deadline coming up here. Yeah, man.
We talked about kind of how we expect things to go in the next week, but I don't know really what to expect from the standpoint of we still don't really know who's going to be buyers and sellers, and these guys are still kind of making decisions. So, oh man, oh cool. I was wondering if that came through, but yes, Mike pointing out that my son Jordan is getting yelled at in the background, because I turned around and I was like, wow, that was loud getting yelled at, but I'm like, there's no way that the mic picked that up.
It did.
I guess I was wrong.
I saw it and I was like, oh man, he did catch it. I like it.
I saw you look down at something and laugh, and I'm like, oh, somebody must have put something. I was not expecting that, but yes, Jordan. But yeah, not knowing who's going to be buyers and sellers makes it tough. I know you, like I, have heard all the ridiculous rumors. I still don't understand the conversation surrounding the Tigers potentially trading Skubal. That would definitely be the biggest prize of this trade deadline, I would think.
I don't know
if he does get moved. What? Who else?
Well, because I just saw something that popped up. I don't remember if it was yesterday or today about the Dodgers being discussing a massive trade with the White Sox for Luis Robert and Garrett Crochet. To me, that's going to be bigger than Tarik Skubal.
I don't know though, because I still don't buy. I'm not huge on Luis Robert.
Neither am I.
I think the Crochet thing is bigger moving forward than it is in the short term. I still don't know what to think about him down the stretch and how much you're going to get out of him. Like, if you're the Dodgers and you're already dealing with, because they're no stranger to the injury bug this year, especially on the pitching side. I don't know how much you can depend on Crochet, despite what he says and how good he feels. The facts are the facts. He's not thrown that many innings, so I don't know. Like, impactful, yeah, but I just think if you're talking about a Skubal and the Orioles get him and put him at the top of that rotation, I don't know, man. I feel like in just a single player, I feel like Skubal
the
most impact potentially of any trade chip at the deadline. Like, if he gets moved, whoever acquires him becomes a heavy favorite, I feel like. So, while that would be a nice trade for the Dodgers, and it would kind of stabilize things for them a little bit more.
Because it's a lot less pressure for those guys too. They don't have to go in there and be standouts, especially so I think that's going to ease it in.
They wouldn't be, but I mean, again, it's like with the Dodgers. Every time you hear names that they're adding, you're like, all right, and then who are those names replacing? Like, Robert would be in the outfield. He's just going to knock off one of the other guys that they've kind of had. Andy Pages has played pretty well. I know that they platoon Jason Hayward, and it's not like he wouldn't necessarily be an upgrade. It's not like he's going to ride the pine. I just don't think he's an amazing. Crochet is the bigger piece of that deal to me.
Oh, and
I think it's a bigger problem for me, the anti-Dodgers fan, standpoint of looking at the organization from long term. I would rather them not have Garrett Crochet for controlled for the next couple of years. Garrett Crochet next year and the year after that before he's a free agent is a bigger problem than Garrett Crochet is down the stretch of this year.
1,000%. I'll agree. Yeah, but I think too, in terms of Luis Robert, I think a change of scenery is going to be perfect for him. I mean,
it may be. Like, I mean, he may go somewhere and it just clicks, or he's just one of those guys, at least, that changes teams, gets rejuvenated, and down the stretch is just a menace just because he switched teams, and then from there, whatever. But I mean, if he helps the Dodgers do what they're trying to do, then I guess, it'll be the biggest impact of any of the trades, regardless of what happens to Skubal.
But in terms of single players, I'll give you the Skubal one. That's I will hands down.
And I also feel like that too, from the standpoint of a week or so ago, his name wasn't even a thought, and then the trade, and then the All-Star game started, and that name came up, and I said, "Wait, what? Why?" I kind of understand, just based on the timeline of where Detroit is and where they think they might be, and by the time they're good, is he still going to be good, or is he going to be there? Is he left in free agency? What the hell ever? But I still don't understand trading him. Like they definitely would have to get a haul. Like you trade Skubal without getting a big, and some of the names and packages that I was hearing, I mean, assuming that he went to Baltimore, it's like they've got the biggest name pieces.
Talking
about trade chips, and any of the package of guys that I've heard from Baltimore would be the only way, if I was Detroit, that I'd be doing, where you're getting like potentially multiple everyday position players out of it, or 2 everyday position players out of it at minimum. So
and that's the quickest way to, I mean, they're not rebuilding, but it accelerates that,
it accelerates their window for where they actually competing, because Detroit's kind of like they're in the middle of the
rebuild. In the middle,
they're kind of like towards the end of it, but not quite. They're in a weird spot.
I was just going to say they're in a very weird spot.
They've got players that are kind of aging out of where the window should be if they were like really competing, and then guys that are like just starting that window. So like they're in this hybrid, like could compete now, but would it be at the lowest levels, but should really still be like planning for more like a 2 to 3 year push before they're really like in contention, assuming all things go right. I would say that they're like a year or 2 away from Detroit being like a legitimate threat in the Central. And not just, they might just win it because they're plucky upstarts and if things break right.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, for them, it might be the out with the old, in with the new will help accelerate that. But as these guys just age out, and just signing guys, it's not going to be worth it. For something like that, you have to deal a Skubal to get, for example, like you said, to Baltimore to bring in guys that are everyday position players. That's how you're gonna quickly,
Well, they also need to not sign stupid deals like what's his name for the shortstop.
Javier Baez.
Yeah, like
I freaking hate that dude.
Right, not signing Javier Baez to a 7-year, $200+ million deal when you're at the beginning of the rebuild. Like that's probably not a decision that you should make going forward too. So
because here's the thing, like Texas did the same thing. But Texas also...
but Texas did it with a foundational all-star, like...
Well, I was going to say, but they did it multiple times.
Yeah, well,
and not just once, and that's it.
Right.
Corey just did it with Baez, and that was it.
Corey Seager didn't have a bunch of red flags like guys did. That plain and simple.
And then you bring in a Marcus Semien on top of that as well. Dude, I mean, that's they spent a ton of money. And, well, it got them a World Series championship, so it shows that it does work. But it was the moves that they made were very smart. Like I said, not just the Javi Baez, 7 years, $200 million or whatever, and then that's it. If you're going to do that, you better have the foundational pieces with it to where you can move forward. They didn't, and that was what was so weird about that deal. I mean, and now they're kind of paying for it because, like you said, now they're in a weird spot, spinning their tires, and now it's like, well,
Well, and I also heard, I mean, potentially, again, if it comes to pass, but that the Skubal trade might be a means to an ends for them to get out from underneath that Javier Baez contract, that part of the, like maybe taking lesser prospects back, or prospects that are further away or whatever, in order to also package Javier Baez in that Scooble deal. So, a team like, because I heard a scenario where the Dodgers also might be in talks to get a Scooble too, but then also having to absorb Javier Baez. I'd be okay with that. Like, I feel like that could blow up in their face later.
I was just gonna say that's the only reason you want that to happen.
I love Scooble, and I think he'd have the most impact. So it would suck to have him go to the Dodgers and potentially have them run down the stretch and just wiping folks out. But if they have to eat that Javier Baez contract or figure out how to navigate that, or even if they just have to straight up release him and still pay him, I know it won't necessarily hurt them because they're sitting there printing money with the Ohtani contract and all that other stuff, but it would just be funny for them to have to do. Like,
God, I hate Javier Baez.
Oh, yeah, you're not alone.
I can't.
I have quite a few friends that are Tigers fans. They cannot stand Javier Baez.
I despise him. I do. God. Oh yeah. So to see him fall flat on his face was it's very rewarding. So.
But yeah, I mean, I think those are the biggest talking points for the trade deadline is Scooble and what I guess who is actually going to decide to sell, because I have a feeling we're going to see some deals happen from some teams here in the next 48 to 36 hours from teams that were unexpected. Like, we're like, oh yeah, they're like on the verge of still competing, or they're still in the conversation, and they're maybe even considered sellers. And then all of a sudden they make a deal where you're like, wait a minute, maybe it signals they're out, but it's more of a long-term thing, but it also cuts things off. So like Pittsburgh, I see Pittsburgh kind of being in that weird, like could maybe, get another piece and see where the things get taken, but they're probably better off like seeing if they got anything they can get something for. And make that push in the offseason, re-sign it, or going to sign a guy or doing something like that rather than doing it now. But, I mean, they could shock and also go pull in, because I've heard, something like a Taylor Ward would be something that they might be interested, where it's not a huge name, but just more offense in Pittsburgh where they struggle to get it. So, and that would signal that they're at least not selling. So they're thinking more competing right now rather than just the future, but it also would be a future thing. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm excited to get it going and start seeing the dominoes fall. Cause like I said, within the next 48 to 36 hours, we should start getting the first deals made that'll then set things in motion for the leading up to the deadline. So.
Well, yeah, and it seems like now Toronto are ones that there was a lot of talk with what they were going to do.
I heard they went from maybe being sellers to they're like trying to compete too. Like, I know you kind of touched on it, where it's just like they're in a weird hybrid spot too now, where they're not trying to sell. They're
because the Bichette landing on the IL for the 32nd time.
Things up.
Yeah, that really changed a lot. I mean, Vladdy has indicated to the front office that he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to stay there. So with that being the case, Vladdy's more along. I mean, he's more likely to stay. Bo would be the one that I would see being traded, but that might be something you see in the wintertime now, because he's not going. He's on the IL now. He ain't going anywhere. Deadline. So what does Toronto do? They've indicated now that they're going to push to win in 25, but again, how do you handle it? I mean, there's talk of them trading a couple of their free agents to be. What did they do? I mean, they're an intriguing team to watch, with what, because again, it changed all with one injury, and that was the Bichette injury.
Yeah.
So that could have really thrown all kinds of, wrenches into their plans. So, that's one team to watch. The Marlins are always a team to really look at, because they're always willing to deal. The Reds, what are they going to do in terms of bullpen pieces? I've seen things that they've talked about, dealing some of their pieces, in the bullpen. Who knows? I mean, this is going to be – it's going to take that, like you said, that one domino to fall to really get it rolling, and then we just kind of sit back and – see how it plays out, because it could get really interesting.
Yeah, and it usually does. It kind of snowballs in a hurry, and then the crescendo of trade deadline. Although last couple of years, you get to that day. I remember as a kid that day you'd have those flurries of moves. It was like the GMs waited till the day of to do everything.
I know.
Rapid fire, getting notifications and ESPN alerts. And now it's like all the deals kind of happen in a flurry within the first, like those last few days before the trade deadline, and then the trade deadline comes and it's just like quiet and nothing really happens on the day of.
I know. It's like, what the hell just happened? Like, expected so much more.
But anything else you got for the second half looking forward besides whatever moves are going to reshape the landscape? I mean, we'll be the trading deadline happens next week. Is it before the show?
It is,
or right after the show.
I want to say it's after.
It's on the 30th. So we will still have 1 day left before the trading deadline. The 30th is next Tuesday. So it's next Tuesday at 4:00. So
and we'll have moves before.
I was going to say we'll have plenty of moves to kind of look, and we'll be, I guess, looking at that final 24 hours to see if there's anything that, any type of rumors or whatever it looks like that might go down before the final bell rings. So,
yeah, because I mean, let's be real. It's really going to, how this week plays out is really going to change a lot of teams, trajectory on how they.
We hadn't even talked about. We talked about that train that was coming down the tracks and how it was. The Mariners were looking in the rearview mirror, but here the Astros are pulling into first place shortly after the All-Star break for the first time all season, right where we thought they would be, even though they were 10 games back just a month. Well, it's 2 months ago now. They were 10 games back mid-May. Yeah. And here they are. Seattle's let them hang around and not taking full advantage and run away with things. So Houston back at the top of the AL West. That's, again, going to change how things are, because there's a chance that Houston could have been sellers had they gotten to this point, based on the fact that they've got so many guys heading towards free agency, and kind of their window here seeming to be near its end as far as this championship, or at least at a point where they need to kind of step back and reset. But maybe now they'll be adding this time next week. So that goes from afterthought to favorite potentially in the next couple of weeks.
Well, exactly. And that makes, that kind of, you got to look at Seattle now. What do they do? Trader Jerry
under a lot of pressure to do something.
I mean, they have to now. I mean, you cannot. I mean, you go into the All-Star break leading the division, you come out of it and you lose to Houston. Now you lose that lead to them because you lost. You played them and you lost.
Right.
And
you had a chance to put some more. I was going to say you had a chance to put some more distance in between yourselves.
Yep, and they didn't. So now what do? That's a team that you got to, and Jerry DiPoto has no problems in making deals. It's just a matter of, what kind of deals does he make now? That's one to watch because, again, Houston, we kind of chuckled at the beginning of the year that, man, they're struggling. Like you said, now they're back where we thought they would be. And, that's not a position you want to be in if you're anybody else in the AL West. Because good luck, because that team's experienced as hell, and they know what to do when they're at the top of the division. So, man, good on them.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping for health. Just health.
All around the league,
man. And not just for the Braves. Like, selfishly, obviously, I want the Braves to get healthy, but I would love for everybody to get to be playing their best with their best players down the stretch as we come to the end of the season. Even for the teams that may or may not be competing for a playoff spot, I want the best players playing throughout the rest of the year. So I hope that all the guys that are on the shelf now get healthy and stay healthy, and the ones that aren't on the shelf stay away from the shelf. And hey, if they don't come anywhere near Atlanta, they should be pretty good.
Well, speaking of that, J-Rod undergoes MRI. Julio Rodriguez ankle remains out as Mariners await test results. So I just got that alert.
I was going to say he hurt that over the weekend. That was another one that
I forgot to mention that one. Yeah,
I was going to say it could be on the shelf because I know he got scratched from the lineup today. So let's hope that he's not done, because he was after a slow start, a traditionally slow start that it seems like is becoming the career norm for him. He was hitting the hot point, the jumping off spot for the first 2 years of his career. Late July is usually when he takes off and gets on fire and gets all his numbers to look real pretty at the end of the year. But now if he's on the shelf, not only does Seattle have to contend with the fact that they don't have what they would hope would be one of their hottest players, their best player at this time of the year, they got to figure out what else they're going to do to combat that, on top of the fact that their offense was already kind of crappy with him. So
it's crazy.
Exciting times, but I guess we'll figure it out within the next week or so.
I know. It's just setting up for a really fun show next week.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You got anything else? I don't.
No, like I said, I've sufficiently bitched enough about about the Braves and their misfortune. So.
The question is, do you feel better?
Do I feel better? No, because everybody's still hurt.
You got it off your chest. I mean, like that, you got to feel somewhat better.
No, I'll feel better when they're playing again. I'm greedy.
You're miserable, you asshole. Good Lord, man. I was trying to
I am miserable. Don't try to give me the brighter side. It's all doom and gloom over here. I just want them to get to the playoffs at this point.
That's the story of my life, doom and gloom.
Hopefully anything can happen. Well, we're all doom and no gloom over here most weeks, but that has been Backwards K Baseball. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. You can find us anywhere you find your fine podcasts. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, all over the blogospheres out there. The Impact Sports Cincinnati Network, as well as the Craft Foods Sports Podcasting Network. Again, we thank you guys for joining us. This has been an episode of Backwards K Baseball. For Chris, I am Scott, and we will catch you guys next week. Good night, everybody.